In this example, I want to look at how we use Putty to connect to an EC2 instance. So I have Putty installed, and if I just go out to my Start menu, there's two tools that we're going to use for this tutorial. First is this Putty Gen, and what Putty Gen does is it takes your PEM, public and private key pair from AWS, and it converts that over to a Putty formatted version of that key pair. So that's the first tool that I want to use, and then the second tool is actually the command prompt, the Putty command prompt. So we're going to use both of those. So the first tool we're going to use is Putty Gen, and what we want to do is we want to generate a key pair. So we're going to load in that Amazon PEM file, your public and private key pair file. So I have that file on my desktop, and I called it wordpress.pem. So it imports that file, and the parameters, I want it to generate an RSA key pair, and I want to save the private key file. And what this will do is it'll create a public and private key pair that is suitable for Putty. So I'm just calling it WordPress again, but you'll notice it has a different file extension. It has that PPK file extension. So now if I look at my desktop, you'll see that there's this wordpress.ppk file, and that's what I'm going to need to use within Putty. Okay, now I can use the Putty tool. So I'm going to use Putty, and there's a couple of things I have to do. The first is I have to go into SSH, and I'm going to go into the authorization, and it's asking me for the private key file for authentication, so I'm going to go ahead and find that key file. And then second, I'm going to go to the session, and I need to type in either the DNS name or IP address before I try to connect. So I'm going back over to AWS, and I'm going to copy the DNS name, and I'm going to paste that into the host name. Okay, so I've pasted that into the host name along with having that key file in the auth section of SSH, and now I should be able to open up a terminal window. It says, what do you want to log in as? So it's asking me for my username that I'm going to log in to my Ubuntu instance, and it's Ubuntu. And that's all I have to do. Okay, it'll authenticate, and now I'm connected to that remote server. Okay, and now I can run commands, and I can see, like if I change my working directory into the var www HTML directory, I can do a directory listing and see all of those files that were created. So I can see that I have that Apache web server running, and I'm able to connect to this machine. And really what I have now essentially is a Unix terminal that I'm working with. Okay, and all of those same commands. So if I wanted to edit my HTML file, I can use sudo nano index.html, and it'll pop open that HTML file within this Linux terminal, and I can edit this to say this is even a cooler Linux demo, and I can fix the capitalization. I can save it and exit, and now that I have that file, I should be able to take my public DNS entry out to a browser, and you'll see that it's even a cooler Linux demo. So I'm able to see those changes reflected within a browser. So this is how you're going to connect to your EC2 instance using Putty.